Rock the
Rock the
crown.
crown.
We are so excited that we are in season 4. We really want to thank all of our viewers for following us and just following through this process this whole time. We are really
Mm.
excited. And today we're going to be bringing you something really exciting and things that we really cherish, and that's our children. So, our theme today is on our children, our future, our legacy. And with us, we have our special guest, which is Hanif Khalil and Baina Khalil, and they are owners of Camp Khalil. You know, they are founders of Camp Khalil, and they are really doing some dynamic things in the community. They have been married for many years. Found each other at a very young age. You know, when we talk about children, you know, having parents to instill certain things into you so that you can grow and develop and have that family life and family structure that these two definitely have. And so they're trying to give back to the community and the children in the community. And so we definitely want to hear from them today on how they have taken the steps in the success that they have had with Camp Khalil. So I just want to know, what is it, Hanif and Baina, what ignited that spark in you guys to get Camp Khalil started, which is a Muslim youth camp? What made you guys go for it?
Well, I would, there is no one answer. So the first answer I will say is Camp Khalil is from Allah through us. That's number one. Because I think when we begin to realize that our life is nothing more than, as Yasmin Mokdad said, like a love story between you and Allah, then every choice, every relationship, everything you do, you're able to see it through that lens. And I can honestly say that we had no idea what we were doing. So I don't want to give anybody the impression that a bunch of 23-year-olds with a newborn baby, fresh out of college, knew what they were doing. I'd be lying if I said that. So I think that we had some bits and pieces. We had a very, when I say very, extremely strong support system. We were both intricately tied to our communities. Hundreds of people could have vouched for who we were as people. We weren't those lone sheep out in the pasture, right, waiting to get picked off. And I'm saying it like this because I want anyone who is listening, who will listen to the playback, who will share with friends and family, to recognize that when you see good, that it's all from Allah. And when you see good, there's a lot more than meets the eye. Oftentimes, the good things that we see aren't even a reflection of how it appears to us. So for example, if you see Camp Khalil, you see Hanif and I, you're thinking, oh, that's Camp Khalil, that's Baina, that's Hanif. You're not looking at Hanif and Baina, right? You're not looking at Camp Khalil, right? You're looking at a manifestation of all the things unseen that were in existence before Hanif and I were even born. All of the people who moved like we moved before we were even born, that made this seem effortless. It felt like water flowing. Now, were there no challenges? We know that's not true, right? Were there times we thought to ourselves, why are we doing this again? That would be a lie, right? Were there times that there were people in our lives who may have given up on us for certain decisions that we have made? We've been telling you false, right? Mm-hmm. So alhamdulillah, the decision really wasn't our own. I think that we moved with a purpose and everything else kind of flowed after.
Wow.
We got another couple minutes to go, y'all. We can't end right now.
Right. Wow. But you know, that answer was loaded. It just really make you just stop and say, you know, I don't know if anybody's ever answered a question like that. What ignited you? Definitely.
Right. But okay, so through that answer, I guess I want to ask the question, so what were the intricate parts that kind of came together that you said, you know what, based on whether it was the young adult conferences that you went to, based on whether it was your community specifically, because they did or did not have components in that specific community, whether it was a story that someone told you, what was it specifically that actually built the spark, right? And
Naima asking that question like she didn't do no research, because based on that question, Naima knows the answer. I'm just saying. I like to
well, it's for
questions
people who may not know these answers, so it's for all of those watching.
So, I mean, if I may add anything to what Baina said, I think it's just a continuous evolving growth process. So, we were coming back from the convention in 2003 and from Chicago. And Imam Muhammad had made reference to, we need to start looking to our future. We need to start looking at the youth. So we took that as, okay, this is the direction we need to move in. So to kind of think about the intricate parts that kind of interwoven itself into the manifestation of Camp Khalil is just really just kind of a joining of our backgrounds. So for me, I was always into personal development, going to, national conventions, being around the community, watching young people. I come from a big family. There was always young people in our family. So, just me growing up, I was always around children. And then my wife, Baina, she was always, taking camping trips in her community. So they went camping a lot. So it was just really just kind of like a merging of those concepts, a merging of those ideas. And then, like she said, with the strong support system, it was almost kind of like they were just kind of, pushing us along. So it was really just a combination of things that were really just already happening in our life. And then it just took, that particular event at the national convention for us to say, okay, I think this is something we should go ahead and do.
Yeah. On courage, on faith. Because Hanif had events like he did dealing with those concerts and stuff, and with Black Student Association, like he had experience working with organizations and being part of putting together something bigger than himself. Mm-hmm. And then I had experience, running student government in my high school and being involved in the Muslim student, not the Muslim Student Association. It was we did Muslim Student Association, but the youth committee at our masjid. So I was an officer at the youth committee with Shahidah Shareef and many other people that came out of Miami. And so, we had small experiences that kind of gave us the confidence and the pieces that we need to do something bigger. Now, originally, we were just going to do an event. It wasn't even an organization. We came back from that convention like, let's do an event with young people, because my degree is in English education. So I was always prepared to work with young people. Babysitter when I was very young, just always had a very good knack for dealing with young people. And then Hanif had the sport background. And so it was like taking all those pieces and then putting together this quilt that would grow new patchwork each year that we didn't even plan to add.
Okay, excellent. And with that being said, next year it'll be, or in 2 years, it'll actually be 20 years. Yeah. Is that correct?
20 years.
So, that there have been so many young, youth groups across the country that have kind of came and gone. And we also know that because the times that we live in, it's really difficult sometimes to really hold on to a group organization, especially for young people. So what has helped you to be able to stay afloat? And during this pandemic, what are some things that you had to do, maybe even to pivot, and that's going to carry you on into 2022 and 2023?
I think the thing that sets us apart from other organizations that were established for youth is that it was pretty much Hanif and I holding the ball. So although we had that support system, although we had a strong community life, when the rubber hit the road, Hanif and I were working for our last name. We were working for our purpose. We were working for our community. All those things played a part in our decision. So when we started planning the camp, we had only been married for 3 years. And when we had our first camp, we had just celebrated our 4th wedding anniversary. So, there were a lot of uncertainties at that time, yet we didn't know that we were creating something that would, in essence, not only keep our family strong and growing and thriving and be such a blessing to our actual union and our actual biological family, but we were creating something that the community could add to the list of accomplishments of our community. But we, of course, didn't see it like that. So this is all hindsight 2020. So that's one thing, the question that you asked is about what separates us from other organizations and allows us to continue after all these years. It's because Hanif and I are the spearhead, and we just make sure that we listen to our community, we get buy-in from our community, we stay connected to our why. Because if we were doing it for any other reason but for our purpose and for our legacy as African-American Muslims here, we wouldn't. Yeah, we would have given up a long time ago. Like, we give up on a lot. Like, there's a lot of plans. New Year's Eve, New Year goals I made for myself that didn't make it to February, right? Right, but they weren't big, right? They were
right.
Like, I want to lose 20 pounds, right? And then through the pandemic, the community knew, of course, we all knew we couldn't do anything in person. And so we had a virtual session. So for our 17th annual Camp Khalil, because I got a little OCD type situation working. So I didn't want any gaps. I didn't want to have to figure out how to redo some numbers. I needed the 18th year to be 18 years after we started. So we did it online. And so we did a virtual session. It was a listening session. We marketed and promoted to all of our previous volunteers and campers and parents. And we listened to them and we got their feedback on what they would like to see us do over the coming months until life could get back to quote unquote normal. Of course, we know we'll never have that normal. It'll be a new normal. And so we met monthly and we had a different topic each month. And that was kind of how we stayed alive during the pandemic.
I like that. So you met in each month, y'all had a different topic. So it was like just being able to stay connected throughout the whole year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know usually before the pandemic, you guys had at least 2 camps a year. What is I'd like for you to share a little bit about what happens at the camp, but what's the age group? I know you have different ages that can participate. What's the age group for that?
12 to 17.
12 to 17. Okay. So we want our viewers to know age 12 to 17. And you can do it at least twice a year. So right now, are you guys set up to do the camp or are you still doing virtual?
Oh, no, we had our 18th session live. Your brother was there and his kids. His second year coming. And that was our first in-person thing since the pandemic. Alhamdulillah, we had a lot of protocols in place, temperature checks twice a day, COVID testing before you would arrive. Those who were vaccinated gave their cards. We didn't require it. And we prayed. When I tell you we prayed, because I said, dear Lord, you ain't never failed us. I know you're not gonna start. Let me get my mind ready to receive your blessings. Ameen. Like, I had to visualize people coming healthy. I had to I literally visualized them leaving healthy. I visualized people, strong and happy. I visualized just everything I wanted to see, because if I thought about all the possibilities with anything in my life, including marriage, including having kids, including going to school, like, a lot of it would have never happened if I let all of my thoughts and fears keep me from moving forward, or Hanif keep him from moving forward. So Hanif is over here allowing me to do what I do. But when I tell you right now, this man right here is the reason why everything remains peaceful and sane and consistent. He's like a rock, like a solid rock that washes himself with water regularly. Like, he washed himself with enough water to wash my dirty self, right?
Enough with the ad-libs. Enough with the ad-libs.
It's the anniversary coming up, because that sounds like a playlist. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want this ring, I want this Tesla. We've been together and you a rock and watching it flow.
Right.
I'm an English teacher, Naima. I'm English teacher. I had to try to, spin a little.
I love it.
Oh my goodness. This is so great. And probably for those who are maybe not as familiar with Camp Khalil, what type of activities do you usually have there? What's your focus?
So our focus is really giving them a real world experience away from technology in a very natural setting. So they're going to get personal development. They're going to get spiritual development. They're going to get emotional and psychological development. But they're also going to get team building exercises, from obstacle courses to zip lining to archery to canoeing to basketball to dodgeball, all the games that we played when we were little, kickball, those type of things. So they're going to get the fun activities, but it's going to be in a natural setting. So instead of it being in a brick and mortar type of place, you're going to get the feel of nature. So it's going to be out in the woods. We don't have the tents and everything like that. So it's not that primitive. You get air conditioned cabins and things of that nature.
Right.
But we're going to stimulate everything from a holistic perspective, from mind, body, and soul.
Okay.
That is
Right.
awesome.
Right.
And I love to camp. You said so. You one of these years you're gonna have to get some tents out there.
Never Terry, let me be very clear. This is glamping.
Glamming. It's glam. It's
Glam with the P. Mm-hmm. Glamping.
Wow.
I did real camping growing up, and you could not pay me not $1 to ever do real camping again. My father was a Boy Scout, and I'm not gonna say, and my father is my father. I ain't gonna say nothing else. Can't do it again. I never know more.
Interesting.
But
So in forming your organization, what would you say is the most rewarding thing? When you started in the beginning and you talked about your why, really, and just people being in place way before you, making this thing happen. When it was right there in your face, what was it?
So I think it's a combination of things. It's really, we just kind of see ourselves as baton holders. That's really kind of how we look at ourselves. So our parent generation and the generations prior to that, they just kept handing it. And now we're just Allah has blessed us to be able just to be baton holders. So really what we're trying to do is keep the community spirit alive, but at the same time, leaving a legacy. So, that's why, one of the aspects of Camp Khalil is life skills, leadership, legacy. So we want to develop young people with the life skills that will arm them with the tools and the resources that they need to navigate through the world and managing our dual identity as Muslims and African Americans. We also want to develop young leaders for the next generation. And then we want the work that we do to leave a legacy.
And I'll add, beautiful analogy about the baton, but the people that are in front of us and behind us are also in our generation. So like Rasul Madyoun was instrumental. He was one of the young adults who's just a few years older than us. So I feel like we're holding those batons and we're doing that work, but we're doing it with other young people who are doing work so that when our young people, before they come to camp, right, they may live in a city or a community with another young couple or young individuals like Hanif and I. And so they're seeing them, right? Then they come to camp, they see us, right? They go to another event, they see someone else. So it's like we are working like in a spider web, kind of to say, right? So we seem really like one little leg seems really flimsy, but when you put me plus Naima plus Nefertiri plus Naima, like you put us all together in different cities, different age groups, like 40-year-old, 30-year-old, 20-year-old, like what we're creating together for our youth will make them never feel like they're having to reestablish themselves. Like they're not going to have to be 20 trying to figure out what am I going to do? Like our parents literally had to figure out what are we going to do because they had to create something out of nothing. And we're blessed to not have to create something out of nothing.
I love that example.
Yeah.
Something else I wanted to ask about. So with all of, I want to go back to the activities because I'm an activities person, right? And so when the children come and some of them may not have ever done those activities before, do you see that there's a little bit of reluctance? And when they leave, what do you think that they've really kind of gained from having the opportunity to, number one, unplug from the cell phone, but to just really be at one, not only with themselves and other young people, but just activity, just being movement.
So yeah, what we do is we try to create what we call as the Camp Khalil experience. So we try to create an environment that allows young people who may be hesitant in initially coming. We kind of allow the environment to kind of speak for itself. So a person that may be reluctant to doing something, if they see that the spirit of everybody else is doing it, then that kind of gives them that extra push to go ahead and try it. They feel safe. They feel comfortable. They see other people that look like them, other people that are doing, going through the same struggles that they're going through. And they're willing to, kind of take that leap of faith and say, look, I've never done this before, but I would kind of look bad if I was the only one kind of standing by myself and not trying to do it. So we've seen young people who never left home before, never spent the night, away from their parents. So you're talking about 12-year-olds, and sometimes we can be very protective of our children.
Right.
And so it lends itself, to an environment that says, okay, let me try this. I've never done it before. And then the other aspect to what you said is, what do they leave with? They leave with that experience. They leave with, hey, I was spending 5 days with somebody who is Muslim like me, going through the same struggles, going through, this identity, trying to make sure that I'm keeping all of this together. So they're leaving with more tools underneath their belt than they had before. So now they have confidence. Now they have reassurance. Now they have a support system. Now they have new experiences.
And we have a niche, as Hanif just alluded to. The environment that we create, it comes from, if you have over 60% of your campers that have been there at least once before, they're the ones setting the tone of the camp. We don't really have to convince our campers of anything. When they see 5 out of their 7 teammates have already been here before, they're like, oh, okay, this isn't, we're not being thrown into something unknown. And the other important part to note is, when you have your niche, when you know your purpose, when you know your why, when you're serving the community that you love and that you're invested in, that's undeniable. You don't have to sell that. And so I can only relate it to my personal experience. I've attended schools where I was one of 2.5 Black students at that school. I've been a part of Muslim communities for short periods of time where I was the only African American. I may have had a Somali in there, a Nigerian there. So when our campers come to Camp Khalil, they're in an environment with people who are genuinely invested in them as a whole human. We see them as the whole human being that they are, not just a token, not just, one, oh, you're just the exception. No, there are a bunch of more of you. You're not that special, but you're very, very special, right? And we notice them. So like Hanif said, there have been so many times that our young men may have never been canoeing before. And Hanif will spend 5 minutes, listening to them, asking them questions, telling them he understands, telling them stories about same thing happened to him. There's no selling involved. I see you and we're going to do this together. And he hops in the canoe with them and they're out in the water. And before they know it, they're thinking to themselves, how did I get out here? But I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I'm here. And as Hanif said, when they leave, when they take away what they take away, I really think it's intangible. I don't even think we can measure, really. It's like being in the classroom. Like, you can't even really measure the impact that you're having, even though it's for 5 days. Of course, as Nefertiti asked earlier, we are still doing twice a year. So this year will be our first year getting back to doing 2 a year. We were only doing 1 up until, we did 2 up until 2017. And then 18, we did 1, 19, we did 1, 20, we did 1 virtual. 2018 will be 1 in person. And then, our 18th annual 2021 will be our 1 in person. And then now 2022 will be back to 2 in person, inshallah. And we definitely have plans to grow. Those are in the works.
Right. So that's so great that you're telling us all about this and the connection that you have and try to establish with the students, the youth during that 5-day time. Now, I know you mentioned that during the pandemic, you might have had different monthly virtual meetups. Now, do you have activities that take place or virtuals that take place between the 2 camps, or ways that you keep in contact with the youth between the time you have both camps?
I was so funny that you mentioned that, because I remember when the pandemic happened, everybody was like, oh, this is horrible. Like we could think of all the ways, right, that life ended. Unpopular opinion, I never felt that way.
Yeah, me.
When I say never, I never felt that way.
Yeah.
Everything from spending more time with my family, getting more rest, being forced to be more conscious of my health. And with the camp, doing things that our community had asked us to do for so long, but we kept putting on the back burner. And one of the things they asked us to do for so long was to have regular monthly or some kind of more consistent contact outside of our physical session. So when COVID happened, we were like, oh, we'll do this virtual session to replace our 17th annual. And from there, we'll do monthly sessions. And so because of COVID, we are doing exactly what you asked, Naima. We are meeting, making a conscious effort to check in monthly with our families, check in monthly with our youth, check in monthly with our volunteers, and maintain that connection and inviting people who've never been. So let's say if you have a niece or nephew who's never been, they may even just be 11. They're able to join. You can see it on our social media page and our website, join it. And so they can begin to be comfortable with who we are and what we're about before they even ever attend their first camp. So they could be 13, 14, like they may be 15 and never been. They could still join too. You don't have to be 11 or 12. So anybody, any youth, right, 17 and under that wants to get a feel for it, right, they can join and learn more before they actually physically attend.
Yeah, that's great.
Awesome. So I see we've got a question on what the dates are. What are the dates again? Do you have the dates set for 2022?
Yeah, that's Sister Veronica. That's Brother Marcus Lambert's mother and father. Yes. We are set for
the weekend of March
17th.
Yeah. That's for the one in Texas.
That's Thursday. March 17th is a Thursday. That'll be in Dallas, Texas. And it'll be Thursday the 17th until Sunday the 20th.
I think those dates are correct. Yeah.
And then the summer, it's July the third weekend. 1 second. The summer is tentative. The summer, the way my life is set up. Okay, I don't know. The summer is tentatively set for the 13th through the 17th, right? Because Eid, something's happening with Eid. So yeah, 13th through the 17th, inshallah.
Now, just the age again is 17 and under, but I heard earlier you
No, not under.
Okay.
Yeah, so you did say earlier 17.
Okay, so the under.
Because I was going to say, that means my 7-year-old can come? No.
12 to 17.
12 to 17. 12 to 17. I would say the only to clarify what I said, if someone is 11 and they could potentially be a camper in the next year, then they might want to join the virtual to kind of get an idea before they're actually eligible to go. But no one under 11, please. And thank you.
Gotcha.
And so when you let me ask a question. When you were talking about the virtual, I know that are you still doing those every month now?
So we had one in August.
Okay.
Yeah. So we haven't decided we're going to consistently do them. We put out a poll and we put out a survey to kind of get the feedback, because although most children are going back to physical classrooms, one of the things that we experienced was Zoom burnout and things of that nature. So we want to really closely monitor that, even though we're trying to do something that's different than what the school provides. At the same time, you're still behind a computer and behind a camera. Yeah, so we really want to be sensitive to the young people who may have that Zoom fatigue.
And like they said, with that burnout, we don't want to have those online sessions and they'd be like, they're boring. I don't want to go to the camp. Like, we would never want those online sessions to be mistaken for how we operate. Because without you physically attending, if you think what we do is what we do online, you probably, I wouldn't come. I wouldn't come if the online environment was an indication of what I had to expect, because it's just not the same. It's not the same.
Okay, excellent. I had a question. So outside of Camp Khalil, because we know that these groups, these organizations, the things that we find passion into, sometimes they can kind of take over our life, right? So outside of Camp Khalil, what are some things that you all love to do? And how do you all stay connected with each other?
To us as a couple, or?
Yes.
Okay, so we are. We
think too long, think wrong. Think wrong.
We just completed our 21st year of marriage. Alhamdulillah. So what we try to do, I mean, it's almost kind of like we know each other so well. So we got to find the little things. So it's just always the small things that we can do. You know, the walks, you know, in the neighborhood, bike riding, things of that nature. And then, of course, you know, we do have time where we take trips and things of that nature, go to the movies. But for the most part, it's really just finding those small moments, those spontaneous moments to make each other laugh or listen to old songs and things like that. So it's the little things now. The big things, most of the time, you know, by year 21, you've done a lot of the bigger things. So now it's more of just, you know, taking advantage of those smaller aspects. And then we have 2 children, a 19-year-old and a 16-year-old. So we're almost at that stage where it's almost an empty nest. So it's almost getting to that.
Almost, but they are millennials, and millennials they're doing something else.
They different, ain't they? A little different.
They're not nest. The nests don't get empty for some reason.
It was too comfortable. You should have had that thing with no air conditioning, no food, sleeping on the floor. They would have left.
Right. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
we messed up, Naima. We messed up, girl. Nobody told us. Keep that thing real basic. They would run.
So it's all about the abstract things. It's the the emotional, the spiritual aspects, the intellectual aspects of the marriage that we're really trying to fine tune at this moment.
And I think that another thing is, I've had conversations with a lot of women where we talk about like things that are challenging to us, either like a one-on-one phone call I have with a sister or when in like some kind of sister group. And I think what's very important about Hanif and I's relationship is Camp Khalil wasn't the beginning of it, although it started very early in our marriage. And we're not married to the idea that things will always be the same. We also are strong proponents of individual self-development. So there's no codependency going on, right? Hanif is not ever sitting around waiting for me to do something for him. I'm not sitting around waiting for Hanif to do something for me. Now, let me be clear. I can't breathe without my husband. I mean, he can't. The only time he knows is on this call right now, because in real life, I'll be like, right? But he knows, like, I'm able to function fully and thrive because he is who he is. And he's able to function and thrive fully because I am who I am. And so, like he said, at this point, there's like some things just operating that we're not even aware of, but we are not codependent. And I say that to say that it is important when you are in service to people that you make sure you keep your affairs in order. And Hanif is very clear on the importance of family. He is very clear on the importance of establishing al-Islam consistently in our home. So let me be clear. If at any point something fell apart in this home, there's nothing that we could pretend in the streets. Like, there's no way that our dysfunction wouldn't spill over into other areas of our life. And everyone, you all ladies on the phone, you know that when Hanif and I aren't doing good, I can't. When I go to work, I'm like, my coworkers are like, "You okay, Khalil?" I'm like, just give me a minute. I got to get my life together, because it's like, I cannot function if that brother is upset with me. And so it wasn't always like that. I'm sorry, Hanif. It wasn't. I used to be able to function just fine with him now. But I'm to the point now where it's like, no. So Hanif has always been keen on that. And I think that's going to be the success and the takeaway that any young person I want them to have, or any seasoned person like us, to know that you have to sincerely have your affairs in order and not be codependent, and realize that you belong to Allah. Each of you belong to Allah. What you're doing belongs to Allah. Your children belong to Allah. I'm saying it a lot easier than I do it. Don't get me wrong, but that consciousness is there, and I have to remind myself, like, okay, baby, let that boy go. If he gets in a car accident, that's what it was supposed to be. Like, stop being afraid of every little thing. So yeah.
Yeah, stop being afraid of every little thing. I understand that.
Me too.
We definitely appreciate you all coming and sharing today about Camp Khalil. We definitely want our viewers to get connected if they weren't already connected. And, just being able to share and give those highlights. We definitely look forward to 2022. And we hope that you can still be connected with them without burning them out on Zoom. I get that, because having school online, it does do a number on the children. Just for a little bit. It's definitely not a something that you want to have going for a long time. So, Naima and Nafis, is there anything that you guys want to say before we go?
No, I just want to say thank you for joining us, and thank you for all that wonderful information, and just keeping going, being consistent, improving and progressing. It matters. It matters. So thanks.
And
I just have one
opportunity.
Alhamdulillah. I have one question before we leave. Of course, you all teach about legacy. So are you kind of teaching and priming your children to take this, take on Camp Khalil as you all, get older and maybe want to pass it on? Are you using your children as a pass on tool?
Absolutely. I mean, I think for the most part is we just have to continue to create the atmosphere for them wanting to do it instead of saying that there's an obligation. Now, we know there's an obligation that comes with it, but we want it to be something where it's natural, where it's organic, where we're not forcing it upon them, because then at some point there may be some resentment that may come in. So what we're trying to do now is just create the atmosphere, create the environment, and then kind of let them find their own way around it.
And we ask them questions. We try to get them involved in helping us maintain our social media, getting involved and asking the questions on what they think will be something that we could do each session. So we always get not only our campers buy-in, but just our children's buy-in, because I feel like by asking our children specifically, it's letting them know that this isn't their parents, it belongs to them, and how they contribute to it will determine its success. But I think all families that try to establish things our corporate sponsors, the Siraj family, Shamsid-Deen, there are a lot of people who have been doing great things in the community, Waziruddin. And so when you're doing things, your intention is that you would hope that your children would continue that legacy. But as Hanif said, it needs to be their choice. And oftentimes when they feel like they're not able to make that choice, they'll just fight you just because they can. So we're definitely not the pressure-oriented type parents. But we definitely invite everyone to stay connected. Our website is campkhalil.org. We're Camp Khalil on all social media platforms. And inshallah, we also have a 5K campaign. So individuals who want to give on a consistent but small basis can do so as little as $5 a month. Some people do $25 a month. You just decide what you're able to do. Some people just do it once a year. So it pulls out of their account $250, let's say, to sponsor a child will come out once a year out of their account instead of each month. So you can do monthly or annual withdrawals, and any amount as low as $5. And that ensures that we're able to continue this work long after we're gone. And we don't have to do hard fundraising pushes every year. But our community comes through. Corporate sponsors come through. Masajids come through in large numbers. And so, alhamdulillah, they've really held us up over the years. And we always say, when the community doesn't want it anymore, neither do we, because we literally do it for them. So as long as they say they want it, they support it, it will be. When they don't want it, they say, you don't serve us, you don't represent us, then hey, we don't serve you, we don't represent you. But they've always spoken very loud about us and their support for us. So we're grateful.
Yeah, that's when you know you're doing something right.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
All right. Thank you so much again for joining us today. We want to make sure that we encourage everyone to share this. We are located on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, and also like us on Facebook. As we're rotating out, we want to go ahead and close this out.
All right. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Vaina and Hani, for joining us. And join us next time for our next show, season 4, episode 3. We can't wait to see you.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you all. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.